Let's join together in our call to worship. God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. God said, "Let there be a dome to separate the waters," and there was sky. God said, "Let there be land and earth and vegetation," and there were all manners of trees and fruits. Come and worship the God who speaks the words of creation. We come to receive these creative words and to be made new. Let us worship together.
Let there be light, let there be understanding, let all the nations gather, let them be face to face. Open our lips, open our minds to ponder, open the door of concord, opening into grace. Perish the sword, perish the angry judgment, perish the bombs and hunger, perish the fight for gain. Let there be light, open our hearts to wonder, perish the way of terror, hallow the world God made.
Welcome to online worship at Birchcliff Bluffs United Church. It is a new year and there are new things happening. You can visit our website at www.bbuc.ca to learn about all of the ongoing activities, because even though the doors are locked, the church is never closed. There are many things happening. Our food bank continues to operate. The work of Toby's Place and Dorothy's Place continues. If you're looking for more information, please seek us out and we can share that information with you. As we prepare for worship, we take a moment to acknowledge the sacred land upon which we gather. It has been a site of human activity for many thousands of years. It is the home of the Huron-Wendat, the Petun First Nations, the Seneca, and most recently the Mississaugas of the Credit and the Scugog. The lands upon which Birchcliff Bluffs United Church sits are part of the Williams Treaty. And today, the meeting place in and around Toronto is still home to many people from across Turtle Island. We are grateful for the opportunity to live and work on this territory. And we seek to be mindful of broken covenants and the need to strive to make right with all our relations. When the voice of God called out to Jesus at baptism, there was embrace and there was transformation. The candle that we light represents Christ's light shining in the world. May each of us experience and embrace this transformative possibility in our own lives and share that light with each other.
Songs of thankfulness and praise, Jesus Christ, to you we raise, manifested by the star, to the sages from afar, branch of royal David's stem, in your birth at Bethlehem, anthems be to you addressed, God in flesh made manifest. Manifest washed at Jordan stream, prophet, priest, and love supreme, and at Cana wedding guest, in your Godhead manifest, manifest in power divine, changing water into wine. Anthems be to you addressed, God in flesh made manifest. Grant us grace to see you, God, mirrored in your holy word. With your grace our lives endow, grace to imitate you now, that we like to you may be at your great epiphany. Anthems be to you addressed, God in flesh made manifest.
Let us take a moment and share together in our opening prayer. Water of life, present at the creation of the universe. Water of life, present at our birth. Water of life, present at the baptism of Jesus. Water of life, present at our own baptisms. We remember that at these times not only was there water, but the voice of God was experienced and felt, speaking to us. God, water of life, we come this morning to be filled with your living water and to listen for your voice. Amen. And now for something completely different today. So every time you eat a pickle, think of how different it is from eating a cucumber. We have this image in our mind, right? So when we're thinking of pickles, those of you who are picklers, you can imagine what you're doing when you transform this into this. The infusion of vinegar and spices makes it something completely different. With the cucumber, we have that white center. Cucumbers are great. They're nutritious, they're healthy, we enjoy eating them. But think of your baptism this way. What would it mean to really infuse, really immerse yourself in the vinegar of God, seeping into your pores, changing you through and through, transforming you into something completely new? That's what baptism is about. It's about change. And that takes time, it takes some ingredients, and it takes commitment. But it's exciting when you immerse yourself in God. And that is something completely different for today.
Let us pray together. The scriptures proclaim to us the message of your light. Loving and ever-present God, shine your light on us so that we may discover and live a path that follows you. Amen. Our first reading is a psalm attributed to David. Ascribe to God, O heavenly beings. Ascribe to God's glory and strength. Ascribe to God the glory of God's name. Worship God in holy splendor. The voice of God is over the waters. The God of glory thunders over mighty waters. The voice of God is powerful. The voice of God is full of majesty. The voice of God breaks the cedars of Lebanon. God makes Lebanon skip like a calf, and Syrian like a young wild ox. The voice of God flashes flames of fire. The voice of God shakes the wilderness. God shakes the wilderness of Kadesh. The voice of God causes the oaks to whirl and strips the forest bare. And in the temple all say, "Glory!" God sits enthroned over the flood. God sits enthroned as sovereign power. May God give strength to the people. May God bless the people with peace.
When Jesus comes to be baptized, he leaves the hidden years behind, the years of safety and of peace to bear the sins of humankind. The Spirit of our God comes down, anoints the Christ to suffering, to preach the word, to free the bound, and to the mourner comfort bring. O Spirit, help us be like Christ, to live in love and charity, to walk in truth and justice now, and grow in Christian dignity. We praise you, God, source of all life. We praise you, Christ, eternal Word. We praise you, Spirit, gracious gift. Your triune presence fills our worlds.
Our second reading is part of the story of the early church from the book of Acts. While Apollos was in Corinth, Paul passed through the interior regions and came to Ephesus, where he found some disciples. Paul said to them, "Did you receive the Holy Spirit when you became believers?" They replied, "No, we have not even heard that there is a Holy Spirit." Then Paul said, "Into what then were you baptized?" They answered, "Into John's baptism." Paul said, "John baptized with the baptism of repentance, telling the people to believe in the one who was to come after him, that is, in Jesus." On hearing this, they were baptized in the name of Jesus. When Paul had laid hands on them, the Holy Spirit came upon them, and they spoke in tongues and prophesied. Altogether, there were about 12 of them. These are essential words for us to consider in our lives today. Thanks be to God.
Let's take a moment and pray together. God, may the words of my mouth and the meditations of our hearts cause us to be stirred. May we hear your still small voice in our own hearts, causing us to move, to be transformed, and to go out into the world and to share your light as we live. Amen. When I began the journey into ministry, one of the pieces of the puzzle that I found daunting was the idea that being ordained into a priestly function meant that I would now be a keeper of the mysteries of the faith. I think what I was stuck on was the challenge of being the keeper of something to which I did not have an easy way to explain. It's not about keeping a secret or knowing some grand answer that's alluded to in vague religious language, but I have learned that, yes, as an ordained minister, one of my responsibilities is to be a keeper of the mysteries of our faith by ensuring that the communities I serve hold up these mysteries as sacred. And part of my work is to remember for myself and to convey to all of you that God works in our lives with and through these mysteries. When I was at Emmanuel College, I wrote a faith statement that helped me to organize my thoughts and engage that mystery. I've included that in the hard copy of the bulletins that has been emailed to you. I wrote that faith statement so that I could organize my thoughts and engage the mystery. Baptism is one of the mysteries of our faith. And as a sacrament, baptism is about taking ordinary stuff, in this case, water, and mixing that ordinary stuff with the word. Now, last week we used a different bit of language for that, the voice. And so with this combination of water and the word, the voice acting, you have a tangible meaning to understand and a tangible way to engage God's grace. God's grace is revealed in this sacrament of baptism by the act of our gathering together and the mixing of the stuff of the earth with the word, the voice. And in the United Church of Canada, we have two sacraments, baptism and communion. And both of them can be described through this idea of taking ordinary stuff, in one instance water, and in the other bread and wine, and then mix it with the word of Jesus Christ. Through this mystery, we have the means of God's grace made visible to us. Now, that's a bit of a technical discussion, and like most technical instructions, they fall short of communicating the real action that takes place. One need only look at an IKEA instruction manual to know this. Definitions like those that I've shared fail to capture the essence of the mystery, which at its very heart, at its root, represents the mystery of the reality that we call God. As I've learned, being a keeper of these mysteries does not give me an inside track that offers the ability to reveal all that's happening as we seek to experience and appreciate the nature of the reality of the divine. The real truth is, I have no concrete definition to offer you of this reality that we call God. I truly believe that the most important thing that I learned during my seminary studies is that sometimes the best answer is, I don't know. There's an old adage that I often conjure when I think of this. It goes like this: the more I know, the more I know that I know nothing. And I recognize that this unknowing can be unsatisfying, dissatisfying. It is for me, sometimes, for sure. I yearn to know God and all that God is as I seek to live my life. God is so central to my understanding of self, my living, my breathing, and my being, that I want to really know the one, the voice, who is the ultimate reality. Now, if you're not yet mystified by that explanation, let me tell you a little story. At our baptism, we're named. My full name is Gregory John Daly, and most of you know that Greg suffices. In fact, it's preferred. I'm not really much for formality, and Reverend Greg even sticks in my ear a little bit sometimes. But let me tell you that when I hear Gregory Jonathan, I know my mother is somewhere close by, and I'm sometimes being called to account. One of the strange things about middle names is that, apart from legal documents, they're rarely used outside of church, except when we're in trouble. And to hear Gregory Jonathan would make me sit up and pay attention. To this day, if my mother calls me Gregory Jonathan, I'm immediately a child. I'm her child. And though this is indeed my Christian name, I wouldn't want to hear God call me that, because I will just assume that God's maybe a bit ticked at me or calling me to account. What I want God to call me is Greg's. It's the term of endearment that my parents use when they want to communicate just how much they love me. No matter how near or far, when I hear this, I hear love, and I am loved. And I can't help but marvel at the fact that when Jesus comes up from the waters of baptism and the heavens open up and the Spirit descends like a dove, a voice from heaven is heard to speak. And the voice does not say Jesus' name. You don't hear a name. Instead, you hear, my beloved, my child, with whom I'm well pleased. You hear a voice say, I'm delighted with you. What could be better than that? In our reading today from Acts, Paul asked people what they thought of baptism and into what name they had been baptized. In other words, hey folks, so what do you think is happening here? What's happening is that God is claiming you. What could be better than to hear that God, who is love, calls you beloved? That's what happens each and every time someone is baptized. You go in with your name and you come out as God's beloved, one with whom God is well pleased. But it doesn't even end there. Not for Jesus, not for you, not for me. When we come up from the water in this mystery, we are beloved. When we come up, we hear God's voice. Now, I know that it can be difficult at times to hear God's voice. But I assure you, what I do know is that just like my parents never tire of calling me Greg's, God never tires of speaking to us. God continually says to each of us, you are beloved. You are mine, and I am yours. You belong to me, and I belong to you. Don't be afraid. Trust that you are my beloved. It truly mystifies me that the voice of God is so soft and gentle. We know that it is a still, small voice. It is intimate, and it comes from deep within each one of us. Each of us needs to gradually hear and listen to that voice. It is important that we not just hear it, though. Claim it for ourselves. Know that it speaks truth, our truth. It tells us who we are and whose we are. It is where our spiritual journey begins. By claiming God's voice within us, we are called to relationship with God, and that grows within us. So in all that mystery, what do I know? What can I say? Well, what I can say is that if you want to develop spiritually, it begins with listening and hearing the voice and claiming what the voice says as our own truth. Then go and live life as beloved. That is good news today and always. Amen. As we offer our gifts to God today, in many ways, monetarily, through our volunteerism, through our commitment to each other, consider this. Today, we remember the baptism of Jesus and how your energy, God, descended upon him. And we pray that God's Spirit will envelop and energize us so that we may take this offering and follow in the footsteps of Jesus. Amen. Let's take a moment and pray together. We stand on the banks of the river with you, our companion, Jesus. We look at the stream of people moving forward to accept the gift of baptism, and we wonder, do they truly understand how their lives will be disrupted? Are they truly aware of the challenge of living a life of faith that changes them as they immerse themselves and are changed from the inside out? Do they truly welcome the call to never be the same again? And for that matter, Jesus, do we? Yet as we watch those who receive their baptism, the washing away of what was, in order to invite what will be, we notice the look of transformation, the smile, the warmth, and we become aware of a change in posture and a new light. That's the kind of wholeness that we yearn for, God. That's the kind of new life we seek as we share the confessions of our heart with you. And we relay those thoughts and desires of our hearts to you now. And here we are, wrapped in your loving arms of compassion, anticipating your intimate touch through the waters of life, your cleansing, your renewing, and your equipping us for all that life brings. And we feel the trickles of water on our face, or down our back, or in our eyes. Each trickle maps a path of transformation. Each trickle becomes a web of strength and of courage. And each trickle disrupts our lives as we knew them, preparing us for the renewed life that we will come to know. And then we blink, and the trickles fall away from our eyes, and our vision becomes your vision, God. You've taken us as we are, and we can understand you better. You've summoned out what we shall be, and in baptism, you set your seal upon our hearts. Live in Christ. Do we yet know how completely our lives will continue to change through this baptism? Be with us each step of the way, our companion and our guide, the one who taught us to pray together, saying, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
God, the light of your love is shining in the midst of the darkness shining. Jesus, light of the world, shine upon us. Set us free by the truth you now bring us. Shine on me. Shine on me. Shine, Jesus, shine. Fill this land with your radiant glory. Blaze, Spirit, blaze. Set our hearts on fire. Flow, river, flow. Flood the nations with grace and mercy. Send forth your word, God, and let there be light. God, I come to your awesome presence, from the shadows into your radiance. By the blood I may enter your brightness. Search me, try me, consume all my darkness. Shine on me. Shine on me. Shine, Jesus, shine. Fill this land with your radiant glory. Blaze, Spirit, blaze. Set our hearts on fire. Flow, river, flow. Flood the nations with grace and mercy. Send forth your word, God, and let there be light. As we gaze on your holy brightness, so our faces display your likeness, ever changing from glory to glory. Mirrored here, may our lives tell your story. Shine on me. Shine on me. Shine, Jesus, shine. Fill this land with your radiant glory. Blaze, Spirit, blaze. Set our hearts on fire. Flow, river, flow. Flood the nations with grace and mercy. Send forth your word, God, and let there be light.
as you go from this place, know that you are beloved. May the still small voice of God, the descending dove of the Spirit, and the mystery of Jesus be with you all today and for the rest of your life. Amen.